A curious boy finds an undelivered letter in an abandoned lighthouse and embarks on a journey to fulfill a 50-year-old promise to a lost sailor's family. Before we continue with this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Oh, and don't forget to comment below where you're watching us from. We love to know that. 8-year-old Liam had always been curious about the old lighthouse perched on the rocky cliffs near his town. Every morning, as the sun painted the sky with pink and gold, he would race past the sleepy fishermen and peek through the dusty windows. The lighthouse had been abandoned for decades, ever since the last keeper, Mr. Donovan, had retired. Townsfolk whispered stories of letters hidden inside the lighthouse walls, messages meant for people who might never read them. One rainy afternoon, Liam's curiosity got the better of him. He wore his yellow raincoat, carried a small backpack, and brought his favorite flashlight, even though the sky was just gray and heavy. He climbed the slippery steps to the lighthouse door, which creaked loudly as he pushed it open. The air smelled of salt and old wood. Rain dripped from the ceiling and small puddles formed at his feet. Inside, everything was covered in dust. Old furniture leaned against the walls and spiderwebs glimmered in the corners. Liam's eyes widened as he spotted a staircase leading to the lantern room at the top. He slowly climbed, feeling like an explorer on a secret mission. At the top, he found the large lantern, its glass streaked with years of rain and neglect. The view of the stormy sea made him shiver with both fear and excitement. Then something unusual caught his eye. A small envelope tucked behind a loose brick in the wall. Liam's heart raced as he pulled it free. The envelope was yellowed with age, sealed with red wax, and had elegant handwriting. To the family of a sailor lost at sea. Liam carefully opened it. Inside was a letter, fragile and fading, written by Mr. Donovan himself. The letter told a story of a sailor named Thomas, who had been lost during a terrible storm 50 years ago. Mr. Donovan had promised Thomas that he would deliver a message to his family, but the letter had never left the lighthouse. Liam read the words aloud softly, imagining the sailor's family waiting all those years. His heart ached for the unknown family, and he felt a sudden determination. "I have to deliver this," Liam whispered to himself, clutching the letter tightly. He didn't know how or where to begin, but he knew one thing. The promise couldn't wait another 50 years. Liam hurried down the lighthouse steps, the rain now soaking his hair and face, but he didn't care. He felt as if the storm itself were cheering him on, guiding him to make the promise real. Back home, he placed the letter on his desk and stared at it for a long time. Who was Thomas's family? Where would he even start looking? The adventure felt enormous for an 8-year-old, but Liam had always believed that small actions could lead to great changes. And as he drifted off to sleep that night, the lighthouse stood silently behind the cliffs, holding on to its secrets, while Liam dreamed of waves, letters, and the courage he would need to fulfill a decades-old promise. The next morning, Liam woke up with the letter clutched in his hands. He had barely slept, tossing and turning with thoughts of Thomas and his family. He knew he couldn't keep this promise to himself. He had to find someone who remembered the sailor. But where would an 8-year-old even begin? After breakfast, he put on his raincoat again, grabbed a notebook, and headed to the town library. The librarian, Mrs. Caldwell, was a kind woman with round glasses and a warm smile. Liam approached her cautiously, holding up the fragile letter. I found this in the lighthouse," he said, his voice trembling with excitement and nervousness. "It's a letter from a man named Mr. Donovan. He wrote it to a family, a sailor's family. I want to find them." Mrs. Caldwell adjusted her glasses and took the letter, reading it carefully. "Thomas, you said," she murmured. Thomas was a common name, but let's see. You have a brave heart, Liam. Not many 8-year-olds would come here with such a mission." She led him to the genealogy section, where dusty books and yellowed newspapers filled the shelves. Hours passed as Liam flipped through microfilm, reading old news reports of shipwrecks and sailor memorials. He found Thomas's name in a small, faded clipping. Fisherman lost at sea during winter storm, 1975. Family mourns his passing. Liam's heart sank. No address, no phone number, just memories frozen in time. I need to find someone who remembers him, Liam muttered to himself, jotting down every name he saw in the article. He thought of going door to door in the small town, but even that seemed impossible. Then, an idea sparked. The local harbor. Perhaps someone there had worked with Thomas or knew his family. He grabbed his backpack, tucking the letter safely inside, and ran down to the docks. The smell of salt water and fish filled the air. Fishermen were repairing nets and mending boats. Liam approached an older man with calloused hands and a friendly smile. "Excuse me, sir. Do you know Thomas? He was a sailor who, disappeared in a storm a long time ago," Liam asked nervously. The man's eyes softened. "Thomas? Yeah, I remember him. Brave lad, that one, lost to the sea but never forgotten. Why do you ask, young man?" Liam held out the letter. "I found this in the Lighthouse. Mr. Donovan wanted to deliver it to Thomas's family, but it never left the lighthouse. I want to give it to them." The man studied Liam for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "That's a big mission for someone your age, but it's the right thing to do. Come with me. I might know someone who can help." Liam's chest swelled with hope. Finally, the adventure was beginning. He wasn't just a curious boy anymore. He was part of something bigger, something that could bring joy to a family after 50 long years. And as they walked toward the harbor offices, Liam felt the weight of the letter, not as a burden, but as a promise waiting to be fulfilled. The man at the harbor introduced himself as Mr. Harris, a retired fisherman who had known Thomas well. Liam listened intently as Mr. Harris recounted memories of the sailor, Thomas's laugh, his skill with the nets and the storms he had braved. Each story made Liam feel closer to a man he had never met, yet somehow seemed to know through the letter. Thomas didn't have children of his own, Mr. Harris explained, but his sister, Margaret, lived nearby before she moved to the city. She might still be alive. If anyone can help you, it's her. Liam's eyes widened. The city? But how do I even find her? Mr. Harris smiled gently. That's why I kept a few old records. Margaret's married name was Thompson. She moved decades ago, but I have her last known address and a phone number. You'll need your parents to help with the call, of course. Excited, Liam thanked Mr. Harris and ran home, his little legs pumping as he imagined delivering the letter at last. He burst into the kitchen, waving the letter. "Mom, Dad, I need your help. I found a letter in the lighthouse and it was meant for a family. Mr. Harris says Thomas's sister might still be alive in the city. Can we call her?" His parents exchanged surprised glances. After a moment, they nodded. "All right, Liam," his mother said, smiling. "Let's see if we can reach her. But remember, you'll need patience. People might not remember Thomas." Liam dialed the number carefully, and after a few rings, a voice answered. "Hello? Hi, my name is Liam. I found a letter written by Mr. Donovan 50 years ago. It was for Thomas, your brother." Liam's voice wavered with excitement and nervousness. There was a long pause. Then the woman's voice softened. Yes, that was my brother. I haven't heard from anyone in so long. Where did you find this letter?" Liam explained how he had discovered it in the lighthouse, recounting every detail. Margaret's voice trembled with emotion. I can't believe this. After all these years, the letter never reached me." "You found it? You, a child?" Liam nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his small shoulders. "I want to bring it to you. I promise I'll deliver it." Margaret's voice cracked, full of tears and memories. I don't know what to say, Liam. If you can come, I would be so grateful." That night, Liam couldn't sleep. He thought about the journey ahead, the city streets, and the family waiting for a letter that had been lost for decades. His heart raced with anticipation and a little fear. For the first time, he realized that adventures weren't just about discovery. They were about connection, courage, and keeping promises, no matter how big or small you were. And as he drifted to sleep, He pictured the lighthouse standing proudly on the cliffs, the waves crashing below, and Thomas's letter finally on its way to the hands that had been waiting for it all along. The morning sun peeked through Liam's bedroom window, casting a warm glow over his small desk where the letter lay neatly folded. Today was the day he would begin the journey to the city. His parents had agreed to drive him halfway, but Liam insisted on being the one to hand the letter to Margaret. He felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness twisting in his stomach. With his backpack secured and the letter carefully tucked inside, Liam waved goodbye to his parents as they drove him to the train station. The air smelled of damp asphalt and fresh coffee from the nearby cafe. He watched the city gradually fade in the distance as the train chugged forward, the rhythmic clatter of wheels on tracks soothing his nerves. Liam kept thinking about Thomas, imagining him smiling at the idea that a small, determined boy had taken up the task of delivering a letter. The thought made Liam's chest swell with pride, but also with a touch of worry. What if he got lost? What if Margaret had moved again? At the train station, Liam found a quiet corner to practice what he would say when he finally met her. "Hello, I'm Liam. I found this letter. It's from your brother's friend 50 years ago." He repeated it over and over, hoping the words would sound right. During a stop at a smaller town along the route, Liam noticed a young boy about his age struggling with a backpack that was too heavy. Liam ran over to help. "Do you want me to carry that for you?" he asked. The boy, named Marco, grinned shyly. "Thanks. I'm carrying books for school. It's really heavy." The two quickly became friends, sharing snacks and stories about their favorite adventures. Liam felt lighter with Marco by his side. It was easier to face the journey with someone to talk to. Marco didn't fully understand the importance of the letter, but he sensed Liam's determination and didn't ask too many questions. As the train approached the city, Liam's heart raced. The tall buildings and crowded streets seemed overwhelming compared to the quiet town he had left behind. Marco squeezed his hand. "You can do it, Liam. I know you can." Finally, the train stopped, and Liam clutched the letter tightly. The station was buzzing with people, announcements echoing overhead. He took a deep breath and stepped off the train, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing gently on his shoulders. Somehow, the bustling city seemed less intimidating when he remembered Thomas's story and the promise he had made to deliver the letter. Liam knew that no matter how big the city seemed, the promise was bigger, and he wouldn't let it slip away. Hand in hand with Marco, he began weaving through the crowded streets, determined to find Margaret Thompson and complete the journey that had waited 50 long years. Every step brought him closer, but Liam also knew that challenges awaited. The city was full of surprises, and not all of them would be easy to face. The city was alive with noise and movement. Cars honked, buses rumbled, and people hurried past Liam and Marco as they weaved through the crowded streets. Liam clutched the letter tightly in his backpack, but despite his excitement, a small voice of doubt whispered in his mind. What if Margaret isn't there? What if the letter isn't important to her? Their first challenge appeared almost immediately. A sudden downpour forced everyone to run for cover, and Liam's small umbrella wasn't enough to shield him from the heavy rain. His backpack got soaked, and the precious letter inside threatened to wrinkle and tear. Marco quickly pulled his own jacket over both of them. "Don't worry, Liam, we'll figure it out," Marco said, his voice steady and reassuring. They ducked into a small cafe, shaking off the rain. Liam unzipped his backpack and carefully retrieved the letter, laying it flat on the table. Watching the ink smear slightly made his stomach twist. "I can't believe this is happening," he murmured. After the rain eased, Liam and Marco resumed their search, guided by the address Mr. Harris had given him. But the city streets were a maze of narrow alleys, busy intersections, and confusing signs. Every turn seemed wrong, and every block felt longer than the last. Liam's small legs ached, but he refused to give up. At one point, a large delivery truck blocked the street they were supposed to take. People jostled past, and Liam feared he would lose his way. Marco grabbed his hand again. "We just need to keep going, step by step." Don't give up now. Finally, after hours of searching and asking for directions from strangers, Liam recognized the building. It was a modest brick house tucked between taller apartments, with a small garden out front. His heart pounded as he approached the door. Could Margaret really still be here after all these years? Liam took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. The sound echoed, and then he heard slow footsteps approaching. The door opened to reveal an elderly woman, her hair streaked with gray, eyes widening in surprise. "Yes?" she asked cautiously. "Hi, Mrs. Thompson. I'm Liam," he began, holding out the carefully protected letter. I found this letter in the lighthouse. It's from your brother's friend, Mr. Donovan. He wrote it 50 years ago, and I wanted to bring it to you." Margaret's hands trembled as she reached for the letter. Her eyes welled up with tears, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. Liam felt a lump in his throat. He had come so far, and now, seeing the emotion in her eyes, he realized the true weight of his journey. "Thank you, Liam, truly," she whispered. "I never thought I'd see this letter. Not after all these years." As she led him and Marco inside, Liam felt a warmth in his chest. The obstacles, the rain, the maze of streets, it had all been worth it. And as he stepped over the threshold of Margaret's home, he knew this was only the beginning of a story that had waited 50 years to be told. Margaret led Liam and Marco into a cozy living room filled with warm light and the scent of old books and tea. Liam carefully handed her the letter. Margaret's hands shook as she unfolded the fragile paper, tracing the faded ink with her fingers. This is incredible," she whispered. Her eyes glistened with tears. "I haven't held anything from Thomas in decades, not a single word from his friends or the lighthouse. And now, here you are, a child, bringing this to me." Liam blushed and looked down. "I just wanted to keep the promise, ma'am. Mr. Donovan wanted you to have it." Margaret smiled softly. "Promise, yes, that was always important to him. And now it's important to me, too." She began reading aloud, her voice wavering at first, then growing steadier. The letter described Thomas's bravery at sea, his love for his family, and his unspoken fears during the last storm. It told of a friendship with Mr. Donovan, the lighthouse keeper, and of a promise to remember Thomas and pass on his message. As Margaret read, Liam noticed a photograph tucked between the pages. It was black and white, showing a young Thomas smiling on the deck of a fishing boat, sunlight glinting on the waves. Liam's heart skipped a beat. This was the man he had been imagining all along, the sailor whose story he had brought to life with his courage and determination. "I never knew all of this," Margaret said softly, wiping her eyes. He always wanted me to know he loved us, that he thought of us even when he was far away, and now, this letter." Liam felt a rush of pride. "I'm glad I found it. I thought maybe someone had forgotten him, but it turns out they hadn't. You just needed to see this." Margaret nodded, smiling through her tears. "And you, Liam, have brought him back to me in a way I never thought possible. You've done more than deliver a letter. You've delivered memories, love, hope." Marco, sitting quietly on the couch, looked at Liam and whispered, "You really did it. You kept the promise." Liam beamed, feeling the weight of the adventure lift slightly. It wasn't just about finding Margaret or delivering the letter. It was about the connection, the invisible threads that tied the past to the present, the stories that survived decades, and the courage of a small boy who refused to let history fade. Margaret placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Would you like to hear more about Thomas? Stories Mr. Donovan told me, and some I've remembered myself." Liam nodded eagerly. The letter had opened a door, and now he was stepping inside a world of memories he had never known existed. He realized that this journey wasn't just about the letter. It was about learning, understanding, and carrying forward the legacy of someone who had once been lost but would never be forgotten again. And as they began to share stories, laughter and tears mixed together in the warm light of the living room, Liam knew that his small hands had held something much bigger than himself, the power to connect hearts across time. As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, Liam listened intently while Margaret shared more stories of Thomas. He had always imagined the sailor as brave and kind, but hearing Margaret describe his sense of humor, his small acts of courage, and his quiet love for the lighthouse made Liam feel as though he knew him personally. "Thomas was always curious, just like you," Margaret said, smiling at Liam. "He would climb cliffs, watch storms from the deck, and sometimes even sneak into the lighthouse to help Mr. Donovan. That lighthouse, it meant everything to him." Liam's eyes widened. "So that's why Mr. Donovan left the letter there?" Margaret nodded. "Exactly, but there's something else I never told anyone." She paused, glancing at Liam, and then at Marco, who sat quietly on the rug. "Thomas had a secret he only shared with Mr. Donovan. On the night he disappeared, he left a small box hidden in the lighthouse. He wanted Mr. Donovan to give it to me when the time was right, but no one knew where it was exactly. Until now." Liam's heart raced. "A box? What's in it?" Margaret shook her head. "I don't know. That's why we'll have to go to the lighthouse together and see if it's still there. But Liam, it's dangerous. The cliffs are slippery, and the lighthouse is old." Liam stood up immediately, determination shining in his eyes. "I can handle it. I found the letter, didn't I? I can find the box too." Margaret chuckled softly, admiring his courage. "You have Thomas's spirit in you, I see. Very well, tomorrow we'll go together, but we must be careful." That night, Liam could barely sleep. He lay in bed, thinking about the hidden box and what secrets it might hold. Would it have Thomas's personal belongings, perhaps a journal or photographs? Could it tell more about his life at sea, or maybe about Mr. Donovan's friendship with him? The possibilities spun in his mind like the lighthouse's beacon sweeping across the waves. The next morning, Liam and Margaret set out for the lighthouse, Marco trailing behind with his backpack stuffed with snacks and a flashlight. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the cliffs sparkled with dew. Liam felt a mixture of excitement and nerves as they climbed the familiar rocky path, the wind whipping around them. Inside the lighthouse, the smell of salt and old wood welcomed them. Liam's eyes scanned the walls, looking for any sign of a hidden compartment or loose bricks. Margaret held his hand, guiding him to the lantern room. There, she pointed to a small crevice behind the same loose brick where Liam had found the letter. "This is it," she whispered. "Thomas said the box would be here. Carefully." Liam reached inside, feeling around the crevice. His fingers brushed something solid. Slowly, he pulled out a small wooden box, aged and worn, with a delicate carving of a ship on its lid. His heart pounded in his chest. The letter had been just the beginning, but this was the heart of Thomas's story. Margaret smiled through tears. "Liam, you've done it. You found it." Liam's small hands trembled as he opened the box, revealing its secrets. Inside were faded photographs, a journal, and a small compass engraved with Thomas's initials. For the first time, Liam felt the weight of history in his hands, secrets that had waited decades to be discovered. And in that moment, he realized that his adventure had grown into something far bigger than a promise. It was a bridge between past and present, and he was standing right in the middle of it. Liam and Margaret sat cross-legged on the lighthouse floor, the small wooden box open between them. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Liam's fingers hovered over the items inside: faded photographs, a journal bound in cracked leather, and a tiny compass engraved with Thomas's initials. "Let's start with the journal," Margaret suggested, her voice soft but excited. Liam nodded, careful not to damage the fragile pages. He handed it to her, and Margaret began reading aloud. The journal told Thomas's daily life at sea, the long hours navigating storms, his dreams of seeing far-off lands, and his worry for his family back home. But what fascinated Liam most were the small personal details: the sketches Thomas drew of the lighthouse, the letters he wrote but never sent, and notes about his friendship with Mr. Donovan. He really loved the lighthouse, Liam whispered. It wasn't just a place for the ships, it was special to him. Margaret smiled. Yes, and he trusted Mr. Donovan to take care of things when he couldn't. This box, it's everything he wanted me to know. But look here. She pointed to a folded piece of paper at the bottom. Liam carefully unfolded it. It was a map, hand-drawn and labeled with the cliffs, the lighthouse, and a small X near the base of a weathered oak tree. Thomas marked something here, Liam said, tracing the lines with his finger. Do you think it's another secret? Margaret nodded. It could be. He must have wanted to leave a message or something special for us to find. But why hide it? And why now? Liam's mind raced. Maybe it's another promise. Maybe he wanted someone brave enough to find it, like me. The three of them, Liam, Margaret, and Marco, decided to follow the map immediately. They carefully descended the spiral stairs of the lighthouse and navigated the slippery rocks outside. The waves crashed below, spraying salty mist into their hair, but Liam felt exhilarated rather than afraid. They reached the old oak tree, its gnarled roots twisting into the cliffside. Liam's heart pounded as he looked for the X on the ground. After a few minutes of searching, his fingers brushed against a small metal tin buried beneath the roots. Carefully, he pulled it out and opened it. Inside were even more treasures. A pocket watch, a small sketchbook filled with Thomas's drawings, and a locket containing a picture of a young Margaret and Thomas together. Liam gasped. These are memories, real memories. He wanted you to see them, Margaret. Tears filled Margaret's eyes as she held the locket close. He trusted us with his story, Liam. And now you've helped me uncover it all. I can't believe it. You've brought him back to life for me. Liam felt a warmth in his chest, a mix of pride and awe. He realized that promises weren't just about letters or objects. They were about remembering, connecting, and honoring the people we love. And through this adventure, he had learned that even the smallest person could bridge decades of history with courage, curiosity, and heart. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sea gold and orange, Liam looked at Margaret and Marco. He knew this was a day they would all remember forever, a day when secrets were revealed, promises were kept, and memories came alive. Just as Liam, Margaret, and Marco admired the treasures they had uncovered beneath the oak tree, dark clouds began rolling in from the horizon. The wind picked up, whipping their hair and tugging at their clothes. Liam's stomach tightened. He had faced rain before, but something about this storm felt different, more urgent, more dangerous. We should head back to the lighthouse, Margaret said, her voice calm but firm. The cliffs will be slippery and we don't want anyone to get hurt. Liam nodded, but just as they started climbing, a sudden gust of wind toppled a small rock, sending it tumbling toward the edge of the cliff. Marco yelped, and Liam grabbed his friend's arm, steadying him. The storm was growing faster than they had expected. Hold on to me, Margaret shouted. We need to move carefully, one step at a time. With the treasures secured in Liam's backpack, the trio slowly made their way back along the rocky path. Waves crashed violently below, spraying salt water over their jackets. Liam's small hands trembled as he held onto the oak tree for balance. Every step was a test of courage, and every gust of wind seemed determined to push them back. Halfway to the lighthouse, the storm unleashed a sudden downpour. Visibility dropped and the path became slippery with mud and loose stones. Liam slipped, but Margaret caught his arm just in time. Careful, Liam, you're almost there. Marco, panting, looked at Liam with wide eyes. I've never been in a storm like this before. You're doing great, Liam said, trying to reassure himself as much as his friend. We just have to keep moving. Thomas trusted us. And we can't let this storm stop us. Finally, soaked and exhausted, they reached the safety of the lighthouse's stone steps. Liam's backpack was muddy, his hair plastered to his forehead. But inside, the treasures remained untouched. They stepped inside the lantern room, shaking off the rain and taking deep breaths of relief. Margaret looked at Liam and Marco, pride shining through her wet, tired face. You both were incredible. That storm could have stopped anyone, but you didn't give up. Thomas would be proud. Liam smiled, though he was shivering. I guess I understand now. Promises aren't just easy things. Sometimes they're hard and sometimes they're scary. But you keep going anyway. Marco nodded, still catching his breath. Yeah, and having friends to help makes it a little easier. Margaret gently placed her hand on Liam's shoulder. This adventure has taught us all something important. The treasures, the letters, the stories, they mean so much more because you were brave enough to face the storm and protect them. As the wind howled outside, the three of them sat together, the treasures spread out on the wooden floor. Liam realized that the promise he had taken on had grown far beyond delivering a letter. It had become a journey of courage, friendship, and connection, a journey that would stay with him forever. Outside, the storm raged, but inside the lighthouse, warmth and hope prevailed. The promise had been tested, and for the first time, Liam truly understood the weight and beauty of keeping a promise. The storm had passed, leaving the cliffs glistening under a soft, golden sunset. Liam, Margaret, and Marco sat in the lighthouse lantern room, spreading out the treasures from the hidden box. The photographs, journal, and compass all seemed to carry a life of their own, whispering stories from the past. Margaret gently held the journal. Liam, you've given me more than I can ever thank you for. Thomas's story was nearly lost, and now it lives again because of you. You've kept his promise alive. Liam smiled shyly, feeling a warm glow in his chest. I just wanted to make sure someone remembered him. I didn't think it would mean this much. Margaret shook her head. It does. And it will continue to mean more because I plan to share these memories. His courage, his love, and the friendship he had with Mr. Donovan will never fade. And you've been part of this history, Liam. You're a hero in your own small but powerful way. Marco nudged Liam and grinned. See, I told you your adventure was big. You didn't even care about being famous or anything, you just did the right thing. Liam laughed softly. I guess that's true, but I'm glad I had you to help me. I couldn't have done it alone. Margaret opened the locket with the picture of young Thomas and herself. This will stay with me forever, and now I want you to have this, she said, handing Liam the small compass engraved with Thomas's initials. A reminder that courage, curiosity, and kindness can make a real difference, no matter how small you are. Liam's eyes widened as he accepted the gift. It was weighty in his hands, not because of the metal, but because of the meaning it carried. The connection across generations, the fulfillment of a promise, and the adventure that had changed his life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sea in fiery oranges and purples, Liam looked out through the lighthouse windows. He thought of Thomas at sea, Mr. Donovan keeping the light, and the promise that had survived 50 years. The waves below no longer seemed endless and mysterious. They were a bridge, carrying memories, hope, and love across time. Margaret smiled at Liam. Promise kept, she whispered, almost to herself. Yes, Liam agreed, his small hands resting on the compass. Promise kept. In that quiet lighthouse, surrounded by treasures and memories, Liam understood something important. Bravery isn't just about facing storms or exploring cliffs. It's about keeping promises, connecting with others, and honoring those who came before you. And though he was only 8 years old, Liam felt like he had done something timeless, something that would ripple through generations. That night, as Liam and Marco left the lighthouse and walked back toward the city, the sky was clear, and stars twinkled above. The world seemed full of possibilities, adventures, and stories waiting to be discovered. And Liam knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning of his journey to keep promises, uncover forgotten stories, and bring hope where it was needed most. The lighthouse stood tall behind them, a silent guardian of memories, light, and promises kept, just as it had for decades.